All right, so you had Brahms before you came here?
Yeah. I'm very Midwest.
Right.
I feel like the only thing that's more Midwest is, country fried steak or something
Yeah.
like drive through, get on out there. I go to Brahms every once in a while, and there are people that they didn't even know that Brahms had like burgers. It's like,
wow.
What, you got ice cream? I was like, how about you go fuck yourself? Brahms is amazing. Well, it's weird though, you have to go to the right one. Because there are some that are just like, what is this fucking wet garbage that you just gave me?
Right. So, all right. Well, introduce yourself and all that good stuff.
All right, my name is Terrell Norton. Hi, I'm a comedian and all-around asshole.
Okay.
So that's fun.
All right. This will work out.
It'll be great.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time. As soon as you're like, hey, do you want to do this? I was like, and get out of my fucking house. Yeah, sounds great.
Cool deal, man. All right, well, talk about how you got into comedy, what attracted you to it, and all that stuff.
I actually got tricked into doing comedy. So my best friend, she was a comedian for a while before I was, and she kept telling me, hey, you got to try this out. And I kept telling her to go fuck herself because,
Yeah.
general asshole. And she was just like, well, just how about this? How about come with me to one of these, to one of the open mics and, just kind of see what's going on.
Yeah.
I said, sure. And then she goes, oh, I forgot to sign up. I'll be right back. She comes back and she's giggling like a fucking schoolboy, I go, what the fuck? She goes, I signed you up and they already took the list away. You have to do it now. You get 4 minutes. I was like, fuck! So I got tricked into it, but after I did my first set, the comedians that were there were like, dude, you should probably come back next week.
Yeah.
And considering how many like gatekeepers there are in comedy and things like that, I was just kind of like, I guess I should. All right, cool. Bring it on.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it ever since. I'm going on 3.5 years now.
Oh, nice, yeah.
I've been doing steady shows and
Well, when I saw you at the Looney Bin Comedy Club, which I always throw in comedy club, because when I say, hey,
when I
what
saw
are
you
you
at the
doing?
Looney Bin
I
and you're
just-
hugging yourself in that nice straight jacket. It was super nice.
Yeah,
I'm
I just
gonna
got out of the
fuck your
Looney
mic.
Bin, so I always throw in comedy club there.
It's very,
But,
it's very important.
Because I've been to the open mics and
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the comedians, like the local,
Yeah.
beginners and stuff like that. And then I noticed eventually they kind of get to do the weekends. They get to be the host and MC.
Yeah.
They get to do about 15 minutes and stuff like that. And you were definitely like one of those where when I first saw you, I was like, yeah, this guy's been like he's been doing it for a while.
I've been doing it for a bit.
I think
yeah.
like enunciation for like delivery and all that, I've definitely noticed that and having good jokes.
Yeah.
But I've
That's
noticed
definitely a big part of it.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I've just noticed difference. You can kind of tell the difference between professional or, someone's been kind of experienced and they got the whole kind of craft kind of figured out.
Yeah.
They kind of know how to work off the crowd. So,
Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like I think in a sense, it's a lot like musicians in the sense
Yeah.
that it's like they'll ask you, how long you've been doing this, but in
Yeah.
reality, fuck that, man. It's just like, are you good? You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a shit how long you could just start out, and if you're great, give the fucker a chance. Like, who gives a shit how long
Right.
he's been doing it? But like, there's so many guys that I've met since doing comedy. Because like, as soon as I started doing it, and people started telling me like, "Hey, you don't suck," I was just like, "Oh well, fuck. I'm gonna keep working at this then." Because I've always loved doing comedy, but I never did it on stage before. That 3 years ago
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
My very, very first set actually was 10 years ago. At Looney Bin, back when Beth was the manager, and my buddy Dan Fritchie was actually the door guy and he's now a veteran of the Tulsa comedy scene.
was that one that used to be like a small club inside the other side?
No, that
or
was
was that a
still at the
different
same
club?
location over at 68th and Memorial.
yeah.
So it was the same location, but I think
Oh,
it was
okay.
like right after they had moved.
Never
up
mind.
there, I
10
think.
years. Okay, I'm thinking. God,
You're
okay.
thinking way more than 10
Yeah.
years.
10
Where's your cane? Hold on. Are you good? Are your teeth in
I
poly?
take that
Are you
back.
okay?
Yeah, I take that back. Yeah, 10 years ago was the first time I went to the Memorial location. I just remember being a lot younger, and there was a comedy club, and I figured it was the same one.
No, this was the same location, and like I said,
Okay.
Dan was working the door, and he's the only one in Tulsa comedy who actually saw my real first set.
That's great.
But the funniest thing in the world is that like I went up, I did my set, it was terrible. Like by my standards now, I'm like, you didn't know shit. Like you were a
Right.
fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Got up there, did my set or whatever. The headliner for that weekend was there, and he comes up and he goes, "Hey man, that was pretty good." And Dan was standing behind me. He goes, "That was his first set ever." And the headliner just goes, fuck you, and just walks off. I was like, at the time, I was like, oh my God, did I offend him? And now I'm like, oh, thanks, man. Like, because the only thing worse for a comic than like sucking on their own set is watching another comedian just absolutely destroy. Because you're just sitting there like that guy from Scott Pilgrim versus the World. You know, you're just like, that was devastating.
It's one of those, you know, that to me is the reaction of somebody who spent probably 10, 15, 20 years
Right.
to get to where they're at, or to get as funny or as talented or what have
Yeah,
you
those
as they
small
are.
tweaks.
And then you meet one guy, he just his first shot on stage, and he's already like that good, and you're just like, fuck this.
We got them in Tulsa, man. There's a few that are now like doing shows. They're throwing their own shows, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching them do it. I go, I remember your first fucking set, asshole. Like, you're already this good? Fuck you. Like, but I mean, like, I've got comics that'll say that to me when I tell them I've only been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Because like I've done shows in Missouri, Arkansas,
Yeah.
you know, all over the place. And I was doing that even a year and a half ago. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
even pretty new to it. And I was getting pretty fucking great gigs considering I just first started out, and that's honestly thanks a lot to the community that's already in place. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Right.
a lot of these guys didn't have a community when they first started coming up, and they had to like make shit up. Basically, it's like, oh, you have a bar? Do people like to laugh in that bar? We'd love to do a show there. That'd be great. Whereas now it's just like, hey, if I want to do comedy, and you can go, oh yeah, First Shop. You know, this is back when everything was open.
Right.
But it's like, you know, like First Shop, Starlight. You know, you just start naming Deco Lounge is
Yeah,
a great room.
I've booked comedians like on shows, so you know I'll have, you know, hip hop comedy show. We've done that a few times. Done it here in Tulsa. Did it with a partner of mine in Oklahoma City, and then we did that in Oklahoma City. We did one in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and there's some good comedians in Fort
for
Smith.
sure.
Definitely ones that like kind of really surprise you
Right.
with how accurate and funny they are, and how they kind of troll the audience a little bit, which is funny because there's people who are just sitting at the bar and they don't realize that
Yeah.
they just got targeted into a joke.
Oh man, it's my favorite thing
fucking great.
because we did a show one time. What is now Whittier Bar used to be the Beehive.
Yeah.
And so I was a bartender there, and so we're sitting there, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna have this comedy show over at Beehive. Do you want to be on it?" I go, "Well, I work there, so I mean, like, which would you rather me do?" And they
Yeah.
go, "Definitely just be on the show. You're a shit bartender." I said, "Yeah, that's fair." So I'm on the show and everything like that, but it was funny because then I got done with my set, 'cause obviously I'm just opening. I was pretty new at the time. And this next comedian got up there, and she was just kind of like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" You know, she does a few jokes, and then she just goes, "What do you do for a living?" And the guy stops like mid drink and was just like, "I didn't know this was gonna happen," and he just froze. Like he like forgot what he did for a living and everything. And I was just like, "We should probably let people know that shows are happening from here on out."
Right?
I didn't know this was happening. I thought he was gonna cry a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, granted, comedy gold, but, you know, probably not part of her set. Like, she didn't write that down or anything. So,
Yeah.
make someone cry. You really hope that doesn't happen.
Right. Well, speaking of the bartending thing, I noticed that you are pretty, like the last time I saw you, you're kind of one of the comedians. You're pretty much open that you do other jobs, and there are certain artists who like they kind of hide the day job or the night job a little
Yeah.
bit. I guess it's some kind of value thing or what have you, or like me personally, I just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing interesting about what I do during the day.
Oh, no, nothing's interesting about what I do. The reason I do it, too, is because...
material.
Well, and not only that, it's also because, like, with comedy, it's a little different because, you know, with music, it's kind of like you want that distance between you and you want to be, you know, the rock star, you know what I mean? You want to be and so with comedy, though, it's like you have to let them in order
Right.
for them to, you know, connect with you and laugh with you and
Yeah.
everything like that. Nobody's going to laugh at, like, you know, the guy that's on stage that looks like he could beat the shit out of you, or like the guy that's like, "I don't have a day job. I am only comedy." It's like, that sucks. That really just, that's awesome for you, but I got to wake up early tomorrow and just, you know, go fucking take it in the ass before my boss all goddamn day. So, you know, good for you, I guess. Fuck. So but I realized really, really quickly that it was like the jokes that work the best, especially for a guy like me, who I'm not, you know, anything special or anything like that. So it's just like the jokes that work great for me are the ones where it's like, hey, listen, we all know that life sucks.
Yeah.
I'm up here for 15 minutes. let's make it not suck for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll go back to all the pain and awfulness that is just all around us. It's great. It'll be great. We'll high five and everything. Like,
Yeah.
You can make the names, you know, the jokes about my name and all that shit. Because I swear to God, one more person comes up to me after a show and goes, Terrell, right? I'll fucking stab you. Like,
there's a reason why I had you introduce yourself. I almost went there. By accident.
No, one time, I swear to God, this manager at a comedy club that I was booked at, I was sitting at the bar with a buddy of mine. We're just sitting there drinking, just talking about the show. And then he comes out, and I swear to God, this is like a 30-second thing that happened, right? Comes out of the showroom, goes, hey, Tyler, you've got to go fast with your jokes. Just joke. Yells at the other guy, then walks back into the showroom, and I go, what the fuck was that? And he just looks at me and goes, yeah, he's on cocaine again. And I go, did he call me fucking Tyler? Like, and he goes, yeah. I was like, didn't he introduce me like early? Like not even 5 minutes before he introduced me as Terrell. And then after the coke, I guess I'm Tyler. And I'm just kind of like, well, fair enough. Whatever's quickest, I guess. Fucking hell, man.
That's great. Do you consider the comedy scene easy or difficult to get into?
It's easy to get into. It's hard to get anywhere with it because comics are brutally honest once you're in. Yeah. When you're starting out, they'll be like, no, man, that was great. You know, I saw where you were going with that as a great one. Like, it didn't land, but we kind of saw where it was going.
You can tell by the vocal tone that they're kind of like, you didn't suck as much as last time.
You're doing better. Yeah. But like it's one of those things that as soon as you're kind of established and it's kind of like, okay, you're not a new guy or anything like that. Yeah. After that, if you get offered shows and stuff, it feels great. But also you are now on, it's like you're at a different hierarchy now. Like that next level in Tulsa comedy is now you are at a place where people will walk up to you and be like, dude, just real quick, that joke sucked. Or like, hey, you need to try harder or something like that. Because you'll have those people that they're still brand new or things like that. And they're like, I don't understand why I'm not getting any shows. And they don't have the balls to just look at it and be like, well, get better and you'll get shows. Like, that's how this works.
That reminds me, I don't know, do you watch the Netflix show? Well, it's no longer a show, but they just do reruns. BoJack Horseman.
Of course.
There's one of my favorites. There's
actually, our buddy Landry wrote an episode for that show.
No shit.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah. You should bug him about it. I'm sure he'll love that.
Okay, definitely.
Because he loves people. Also hug him while you're doing it. He'll love it. He'll be all about it.
There's a scene where it's one of the flashbacks, and it was I think it was a TV producer guy who heckles BoJack during his set. Oh, shit. And then he comes back. He's at the bar, of course. He's like, just got roasted on stage, and so he's at the bar feeling pretty down about himself. The guy goes, "Hey, that was a good set." He looks at him and goes, "Get cancer, dickwad." And it's fucked up because the guy gets cancer later in the show. So
no, that's comedians wholeheartedly, dude. Because I have said more than once that it's like comedians are the darkest people on the planet. We want people to laugh and everything like that, but at the same time, what makes a comedian laugh is the darkest shit possible.
Oh yeah.
Like no one in the world is gonna laugh as hard as your comedian friends in the back of the room while you're bombing. Like you're on stage and you are just hating life. Like none of your jokes are landing. You could look at the back of the room and then your buddies just covering their faces because they're just going, he's gonna kill himself. Shit like that always makes me laugh every time. Like my buddy I saw recently, his name's Micah. He got in a car accident and he lost the lower part of one of his legs, like from high shin all the way down, lost it in a motorcycle accident. And the first time I saw him, he comes in and he's kind of looking a little whatever. And I go, hey man, did you shrink? He goes, what? I go, well, you look a foot shorter. And he just goes, oh, fuck you. And then you can kind of see him go, I was like, yeah, there you go, motherfucker. Yeah. Got your back. I was like, what are you, like 6'2" on the left, 5'9" on the right? You okay?
Jesus.
By the end, he was the one. He was cracking way more jokes about it than I was, and all that shit. So it's like when people are like, "Oh, dark humor doesn't have any place," I'm like, "You can go fuck yourself. This whole world's dark, and if you don't see that, you need to get better friends."
So thick skin is
huge part.
Okay,
huge part of comedy.
Well,
because I mean, like you talk about BoJack getting roasted, and then he goes, he's sitting at the bar feeling all sorry for himself. I'm like, look at that little bitch. Like, dude, I got roasted for probably the first Actually, I'm still getting roasted. I don't know why I'm saying that I used
Yeah.
to get roasted. Like, if you show the way to know if you look good is walk up to your friends, like all your comedy friends at a table. If they start making fun of you, you look pretty good that day. They don't make fun of you if they think you look like shit.
Right on.
They're like, he's probably going through something.
I remember
Don't make fun of him."
watching old videos of Bill Hicks, and he would get like, or people would like cough. They'd make all kinds of noise just trying to like and then he's talking about shit that's going on in the world right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Back then, so it's just like people are intentionally not trying to pay attention.
Right.
I think there was a couple times where he called people out. I remember a very rare video, or maybe it was an audio. It was George Carlin who called out a heckler, and it was savage as fuck. Like literally told him, "I hope you and your kids die in a car wreck, and your mom gets fucked in the ass." All kinds of just like drilled this dude and it was just the most savage ass shit. And
Well, and I mean, like, I swear to God, half the time that's what they respond to. Otherwise, if you're
Yeah.
just like, hey, can you be quiet? They're like, fuck you, bitch. And they just keep going.
Yeah.
But, like, one of the greatest heckler, like, heckling's, we shut it down in America and everything like that. But apparently,
Yeah.
heckling's like a big part of stand up comedy in the UK.
yeah,
So, like, one of the greatest that I've seen is Jimmy Carr. He'll give a moment for the audience to do that.
Yeah.
Like, he sets aside time in a show to be
Yeah.
like, okay, anyone have mean things they want to say to me real quick? And people are just yelling at him, and he's right back at them. Like, at one
Wow.
point, somebody said something about, I don't know, they made like a lame joke towards him, and he goes, I want to go ahead and talk about something real quick. It's not very fair that men can, go out and sleep with a bunch of people, and they're called a stud. A woman goes out and sleeps with a bunch of people, and they're called your mom. And the guy was just like, and he gets all quiet and shit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, see, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
because the weirdest part is that, like, some of the hecklers, they'll say some shit like, oh, I was helping. It's like, I'm sorry. What part of my set made you think that this was a participation show? Like,
Yeah.
this is not Blue's Clues or Dora the Explorer. I didn't look at the
Yeah.
fucking camera and go, do you see my punchline coming? Do you see it? Yeah, it's right over here, isn't it? No, never happened. Go fuck yourself. Sit there
Yeah.
quietly like you have your whole fucking life in America. You did it in fucking school. You do it at your fucking job. What makes you think this is different? Sit there, shut up, laugh when you need to. That's all you need.
yeah. I've definitely figured out there's certain friends I can't take to a comedy club, and they're the friends that just want to talk all the time.
Oh my God.
And then
Or tell
and I'm
their
sit-
own jokes like, hey, I have a joke that's like that. I don't fucking care.
Oh, they don't whisper. They don't whisper. And or they want to like jump on in, and I'm sitting here like, okay, dude, they do that 3 strikes you're out thing. I'm staying here. I'm not getting kicked out for you. I kind of want to come back
I'm
here.
not moving from this spot, so you do with that information what you will.
But I've always kind of felt that comedy is probably the hardest of any kind of performance. Maybe, well, I say it's probably one of the
I
hardest.
was gonna say, yeah, go ahead. No,
One of-
backtrack that real hard because it's just kind of like comedians are the ones that's like, as soon as you say something like, wow, that's so brave or anything, it's like you get like an itch or something. It's like, compliments. I feel good about myself.
Yeah.
My jokes are gonna suck.
Yeah.
I swear to God, it's like this guy tried to tell me that shit one time.
Yeah.
He was a musician, right? I just saw this guy fucking murder on stage. He's a guitarist, like,
Yeah.
just fucking soloing and everything. And I'm like, he goes, you ever play guitar? I was like, you ever tell jokes? See, it doesn't feel good, does it? And so, like, I was like, no, I don't play guitar. He goes, I don't tell jokes. I was like, yeah, fuck you. So we're sitting there talking. He goes, yeah, man, I think comedy's way harder than music. And I go, "Ah!" I was like, no, don't do that. And he goes, no, man, I just mean, if I have a bad show, I can blame it on like, oh, that sound guy sucks.
That's kind of what I was gonna say is because you're by yourself.
Yeah.
and it's nothing but silence. It's not music where whether you're in a band or you're solo, you have the music kind of behind you.
Yeah.
it's kind of just you.
Yeah, you can kind of, with music, you can kind of go like, okay, I know my counts. I know exactly when I'm supposed to go into this thing or that thing. But it's the same with comedy, like, not when you're trying out new stuff, you know what I
Right.
mean, or anything like that. But whenever you've got your solid set that you do, like the one I did at Looney Bin, I've done that set, like that
Yeah.
exact set, like, well, probably a few dozen times now, you know
Right,
what I
yeah.
mean? But you have to have that when you're
Yeah.
doing it in a setting like that. I mean, there are comics they can kind of go off the rails and
Yeah,
do whatever, but I'm one of those guys that it's like, if I'm not careful, I'm gonna go over my time, and that's a dick move. You know what I mean? Because I'm the host, so it's like I'm first. So if I go over my time, that takes away time from both of the guys that are
Yeah.
after me. So it's just kind of like you have to stick to your time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, That's exactly 15 minutes when I finish that joke. I know every time. So it was just kind of like, yeah, I've done that set a bunch of times. But then there are other sets where it's just kind of like, you know, hey, how much time do I have? I did Evan Hughes' show, and he goes, oh, just go for it. I go, I'm sorry? He goes, yeah, no, just have fun. So I was in the back of I was in like the little green room or whatever. I was like, all right, we're going for it. And I did like 20, 25 minutes, something like that.
That's great. So you said you traveled a little bit. Was it different comedy clubs, or is it just strictly through Looney Bin?
No,
'cause I know Looney Bin's in different.
Yeah, no, that's the
areas.
only Looney Bin I've done. In reality, the traveling I'll do, sometimes I'll show up and it's like a bar. Sometimes I'll show up and it's just kind of like, okay, so where's the rest of the fucking building, dude? Like, I drove almost 2 hours to come to this show. Like me and my buddy Zach, we showed up one time. They go, hey, do you want to do a show at the Scrapyard? And I go, that's a cool fucking name.
Yeah.
That's a kick-ass name for a bar. No, it was a fucking scrapyard. Like, we showed up, and they go, there's your stage. And they had fucking welded metal together to make a fucking stage next to this mannequin with, like, a Chuck E. Cheese, like, head on. And there's shit hanging from the... And I was like, I am on too many drugs right now for this bullshit. Like, y'all need to fucking warn a motherfucker before we show up. Because I was like, I gotta go outside for a second. I had to breathe. Like...
Yeah.
And then I was like, is there a bar? And they go, there's a fridge right over there. I go, what is fucking happening right now? I like leaned over to Zach. I was like, dude, if they like try and, you know, eat us or something like that, I'm fucking out of here. I mean, I'll give them a chance. They can take like a bite. If they're gentle, we'll stay. It'll be fine. I'll be a meal. It's great. I don't care. He died doing what he loved. Nothing.
Yeah. Definitely reminds me of some older venues from back in the day.
Yeah.
Definitely the people would walk to Quick Trip to use the restroom. Because the restroom they've had literally looks like you would catch HIV just for opening the door.
Right. No, I remember, like, we were talking about, me and a buddy of mine were talking about downtown Tulsa.
Yeah.
So like I said, this is the furthest south I've been
Right.
in Tulsa, or this is Bixby, right?
Yeah.
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 I was sitting there just, like, driving, going, fuck, I don't even remember the last time I've driven this far this way. So, like, I live in downtown, and we're sitting there talking because... Even like 10 years ago, I was a bartender downtown. And I remember we saw this woman 10 years ago walking with her kids on the sidewalk outside of the bar. And we were like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't bring children down here. Do you want them to see a junkie? What's wrong with you? Like, honey, sometimes people put things in their arm to feel sunshine. That's what they do. Like, it was the fucking weirdest shit. And now it's like there's ice cream parlors down there. There's like fucking everything. And I'm just kind of like, I kind of miss the junkies. Just a little bit. But like cool, the venues that we have now, like I was saying, like the guys that started out, you know, like I'll talk to them and the stories they have, they're like, yeah, that show was crazy. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, yeah. In reality, it sucked. It sucked a lot. We hated having to go to all these fucking random ass places. But it was one of those, like, they took shows where they could get them. And so it was like you kind of put up with people's bullshit. You put up with like really shitty conditions. Like, where can I pee? Go pee in the fucking alley. Like, you're on in 5 minutes. Hurry up. Like, you know. Like, right. And so, but now, because of those guys, you know, that kept around and kept pushing and pooking. They're pooking things. Kept pushing and kept, like, making things better. Now it's like some fucking dickhead who's drunk at the bar hears there's an open mic upstairs at the Fur Shop and can go like, I want to sign up. And now he can. And go fucking do 4 minutes.
So it's kind of like music now. Pretty much anyone can do it.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
There's no restrictions anymore.
Dude, they're so, like, and it's the same in the sense of, like, we all know musicians who suck, who think they're great. And in the comedy scene, there are, like, a handful of comics that it's just kind of like, do you know that you're terrible? Or, because, like, they'll say that shit that I was talking about where they're like, I don't know why I'm not getting shows. And we're just kind of like,
so it'd be the big difference because the music scene, everyone's kind of semi-afraid to kind of give even constructive criticism and comedy. Right. It's just like right in your face.
Well, because it's like, and there's something to be said too about with music. You can kind of like not even know you suck just because it's like when you're playing, you're not looking for an immediate reaction. Whereas it's like if I write a joke and I get on stage and I tell it, I just stand there for a second. Okay, they didn't like that, and I move on to the...
No one's laughing, so this didn't work.
Next joke, here we go. Let's hope my dick joke works, this next one. Here we go. Like, And but that's the thing is that it's like the biggest difference is both what you're talking about like I'm by myself up there, but then also it's the criticism you feel a little bit worse. You know what I mean? Like because it's like if someone goes to your show and they're like, well, I mean like whatever. You're like, oh okay, you're not big hip hop fans, whatever. It's fine. You're not a big whatever. Comedians, it's like I didn't really like that show. It's like oh, so you don't like me as a person? Great, that's fine. That doesn't cut deep at all. That's
right.
You don't like the jokes that I've worked on for hours, days. Yeah. There are jokes that I'm still tweaking that I wrote like years ago because I'm just kind of like, no, that still sucks. All right, move on. Like my phone, the notes app is just full of like, all right, this is a good idea. Yeah. Try this out or whatever. But then you have these jokes that you're just sitting there, you have in your phone for like a year and a half, just sitting there looking at them going, nope, still got nothing. I still don't have a fucking punchline for this shit. Like, but there are comics that I've talked to that they're those people that it's like, yeah, I wrote a new joke. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, yesterday. Fuck you. Like, and that was it. Yeah, that joke I told.
Those that can just memorize something like real quick.
Yeah.
Versus having to spend hours to memorize something. Yeah.
Well, not even just the memorization, it's the writing part of things because you have to also kind of take into account like the timing of the story or anything like that. Because there's so many people, after doing comedy, I swear to God, when people start telling me a story, sometimes I kind of look at them and I go, you genuinely suck at this. You genuinely suck at telling stories. Because they'll be like, and then we were going over to Mike's house and he drives a Dodge. So we got in the I'm like, the Dodge has nothing to do with the story. Why am I hearing about the fucking Dodge? I don't give a shit. Move a fuck along. Here we go.
Definitely.
I'm doing the same thing, like just in random bar. You know, I'm like, this bit sucks. It's like we're having a conversation. Well, that bit sucks too.
Get to the point. Wait a minute, man. I got to wrap it up. I guess let people know where to find you on the old social media.
I'm on. I'd probably just do Instagram, honestly. Facebook, I'm real hesitant of like friend requests these days on Facebook because it's just like, just be my friend, and then you click confirm, and it's like, look at my tits, and it's like, whoa, I don't want to do that. Yeah. So, and Instagram's better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's not tits. It's all ass.
It's all ass. On Instagram, it's all one word. The only Terrell you know. And Terrell is Terrell. And I guess I have a Twitter now, too. But I rarely actually post to that.
Yeah.
I just mainly follow, like, celebrities and politicians to just be like, look at this fucking asshole. Like, I don't actually put anything forward of it. I'm just sitting there scrolling, just fucking idiot. Like, get the fuck. Kamala Harris,
that's
fuck
kind
you.
of that's kind of my thing with Twitter. Like, they've made algorithms to the point where it's just like, okay, no one sees anything anymore. So it's just like I'm just tweeting to a brick wall.
Yeah, right. And I mean, like, as soon as all this COVID shit's over, I'm hoping to get right back to it and try and do as many shows as I can. And once that happens, Instagram, Facebook, I'll make sure to let y'all know. If you want to look me up on Facebook, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and check you out. If you're not some bot or Republican, I'll probably confirm. You know what I mean? But, if you are a Republican, just be cool about it. I don't give a shit.
Right on, man. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah, sounds good. I wish I did that. All right, I wouldn't have a kid.
I drink beer and talk shit. I'm a fucking asshole. I drink beer and talk shit. I'm a fucking asshole. I drink beer and talk shit. I'm a fucking asshole. I drink beer and talk shit. I'm a fucking asshole. I'm better than any of you and not to a fact. I smoke a fat doob, a doob dabs with my doob dab. You in the wrong scene if you think you can lean on me.